Welcome to the Funded Now What podcast with your host, Andrew Lee Miller, brought to you by GrowthExpertz. You're in store for a chat about funding, marketing, startups, and all things growth.
All right, everybody. Hello and welcome back to the Funded Now What podcast. My name is Andrew Lee Miller, also known as Andrew Startups, and I'm your host. And today we've got a very unique AI application that you haven't thought of. I've got David Berg, the CEO and founder of Commander AI, which is a waste hauler focused AI startup that helps them grow their business and get clients, prospect better, adds a layer of intelligence to pretty much one of the most old school things left in the business market. So that's why we reached out and we asked him to come on the show. David, thank you so much for being here.
Andrew, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So give us, I never do too much background work. I want you to give the intro to what Commander is and what it does. I noticed you had the problem. You were a waste hauler yourself before, which is the origin story we love, but you just raised $5 million. What does the company do and who are you trying to help?
Yeah, so I'll start with why I did it, what you sort of alluded to for a moment there. I was, working in trucks for about 6 years. It's one of the last industries. Many people know about it. You see them, picking up trash from your house. You see them outside your office. But beyond that, it's sort of, the Italian mafia impression of what the industry does. But the actuality is that nobody's using technology. And it's one of the last industries to adopt, let alone AI, but just tech in general. And so I saw a really big opportunity to build simplistic technology for an industry, again, that's desperately looking for it, but doesn't really know that it exists. And so, Commander, we raised $5 million. I think it's just sort of the beginning of our story. But, as far as why and the basis of it, it's helping us, find new business for haulers, manage customer pipeline, help them track their invoicing, quoting, billing, everything that a company needs to succeed. And we offer different modules for those that are earlier stages. They might have a one-truck operation looking to get their first customer. And then we work with folks like Waste Connections that have $5 billion in annual revenue and all over the country. So it's a wide gambit of customers, but we're here to service them all.
Interesting. And why do you need $5 million for this? It seems like, if you've already built the tech, then getting customers, if they're old school, you can't really, do a lot of digital marketing to gather these people. You need to really hit the phones and do in-person stuff. But what do you plan to do with the money that you raised?
Yeah. So first and foremost, we had a V1 that we sort of raised with, which was typical in a tech startup. And sure, we had a technology. My CTO, who was early on with me in the company, built a lot of it. But to get to the next stage of, again, hitting the mass markets, some is needed to spend on marketing. Again, in this industry, to the extent that people know, it's trade shows, and that costs money as an example. And then just getting your name out there, whether it's through PR publications, there is a level of digital marketing. It is still very old school. People still send faxes, prefer to meet in person rather than on the phone, but there is a level of money spent there. So aside from growing the business, aside from getting our name out there, we also wanted to build more concrete and fundamental technology, and that wasn't possible with no fundraising.
Perfect answer. And, segues me right into talking about marketing stuff, which I think I can teach you how to save a lot of that 5 million on this call. But first, first time founder, right? How did you raise $5 million? I mean, it's not an easy thing to explain to investors. I mean, maybe it is. I don't know. Walk us through what that was like.
No, it's still 26 months in, still the hardest thing I had to do thus far. I think most people, what probably happens is they talk to a couple of investors, maybe a couple hundred investors, and they all say no. And so they quit and believe their idea is bad. I said to myself, the only thing that's going to stop me from success is failure itself. And I think that most, especially first-time founders, look at what happens as like the definition of who they are and their product and the company. I merely saw it as they don't understand. These people don't understand. They don't understand. Somebody will understand. And so I'd say like relentless fortitude and certainty is what's gotten me through it. Paired with that, Adam Neumann, who some of you might love him, some of you might hate him. He's a close family friend. He was instrumental in just my thought process around fundraising. We were a guy. That's right. So I've known him for.
Are you Israeli?
My dad is. Yes.
Okay. All right. That makes sense. All right.
Yeah. So we've had just some connectivity, and he's crazy, but he's very smart and relentless. And so in raising capital, like my advice would be, don't take no as a means for any definition whatsoever. Have hundreds of conversations and listen to the feedback rather than take it personally. So initially, they're like no, and I'm like, well, they don't understand, but I'm like, wait a second, what are they telling me that I could be doing better? And then I just took one piece of advice from this investor, one piece of advice from that, and then eventually we had a very thoughtful and productive pitch rather than my
Yeah.
introductory pitch was like, I'm smart, you guys don't get it, and come and invest, which never works.
I love that. And earlier you said the only way to not succeed is if you actually have failure. And here in San Francisco, we don't even believe that, because just like you said, all those no's actually teach you. So if you love failure, and which is what we do here in San Francisco, then you will always succeed because you learn from the failure. There is no such thing as failure. There is no such thing as a bad response from a prospect, because you learn from that. Like I tell companies that I coach on outreach and stuff, we don't take no for an answer. If we look at the company and we're like, oh, they should definitely be using our stuff. So then I go back and say, I understand you're not interested, but why? Because this, and then they go, oh, I thought it was automation. I didn't know this was here. So the more you get those no's or those failures, the more you learn from. So I love that. And, how did you figure out who to target? Like, are you focusing on investors that back just AI companies, or did you get someone from inside of the waste world to invest in you, or how did that work?
Yeah, great question. So initially, as probably any first-time fundraiser, you don't really know what you're doing, and so whether it's using today's day and age open source AI like a ChatGPT, here's my value prop. Who should I be pitching? We did that. That didn't really work. Then we asked some other friends in the industry, who should we talk to? That didn't work either. Then I think we even purchased a list of like the top 10 wealthiest individuals on the West Coast.
Wow.
And we were like, you know what, if we're not going to raise from venture because we're not successful at that, we have to go to high net worth individuals. That also didn't work. I think 98% of those emails bounced back, and the person probably didn't even exist to begin with. And what finally worked was, and this would be the other piece of advice is, again, this, but relationships is everything. Our two investors that ended up leading around, which was 11 Tribes Ventures out of Chicago and Watchfire Ventures out of SF, they came from other relationships. They weren't warm relationships. They were merely, hey, here's a company you should check out. We went through months of diligence. They eventually invested. But wow. I know this after talking to them, that investors rarely ever invest unless somebody told them about the company first. Because essentially, just like if you're going on a date with a girl, if you ask her out and she knows that nobody else was interested in you, she might be skeptical from the onset. And investors are the same way. If you go to an investor and you're sending out all these cold emails to every investor, they're all thinking the same thing. They're like, why did nobody else want to invest and why should I? Right? So
I don't know about that analogy, girl. Any female listeners listening in right now, because then by that mindset, I should act like I'm talking to a bunch of other girls on a date, and I don't think that works as much as it does. But for investors, it does. I'll never forget Stephen Bartlett, the Diary of a CEO guy, which I don't listen to podcasts myself, but I was in the room when someone was listening to that. And he was like, the number one signal for me is how little that person is selling me to invest in them. Like if they're like, that's why the intro, it doesn't feel salesy. Someone says, look at this, as opposed to you like, please invest in me. They're less likely to invest in that company. But the warm intros are everything. And in Silicon Valley as well, people just constantly like, hey, can you make any intro? It does really work. But so what kind of traction did you have though? Like, were you at idea stage, or you had manually gone out and gotten some clients? Had you built an MVP? Like what stage were you at when you started fundraising?
Yeah, that's a good question as well. So the short answer is when we first went out to it, we had no traction, no customers in a proof of concept, rarely. That didn't work. And so we said, okay, if this is not going to be successful, we have to go back and hit the board.
Yeah.
Let's get a customer too. Let's get some product out there. And so we did that, even though it felt counterintuitive because I didn't feel we were where we wanted to be from a product perspective. Nonetheless, we had dozens of customers. We had proof of concept. We already had a product out there, was live. But that was a very early iteration of what it is today. But nonetheless, we did have that going into it.
Nice. Yeah. I mean, the more you can hold off on the fundraising and kind of reduce the risk in the mind of those investors, I think the easier it gets. But that's awesome. Okay. So what stage are you at now? Like, what can you share about like the traction and, how you're currently getting customers and stuff like that?
Yeah, totally. So we only raised, I think it was August of last year, maybe September, we went live with it. We've grown just in a ridiculous manner, probably faster than I thought we would, honestly. We'll do a Series A in a couple months from now. We probably could do one today if we wanted to, but don't need to, being a little patience there. We have hundreds of customers all over the country and Canada using us. We've rolled out 3 different product sets, full CRM now that's competitive against Salesforce and specific for waste, which we're actually winning head-to-head business against Salesforce, which I never thought would be possible. And then we just rolled out Hauler Central, which is a marketplace for basically every hauler in the country. And so now if you're on the demand side of things and you need a hauler locally, you can go in there and say, hey, I need a dumpster for my construction site. And you'll get, competitive quotes.
Do you monetize that marketplace too?
Currently, it's just a source for us to get our brand name out there and also capture inbound demand. But eventually we'll switch to a premium model. Interesting.
Yeah, a lot of marketing work needs to be done on that. Like anytime you have a directory, so I'm just going to go off on a tangent. Google loves nothing more than directory listings site structure, like a marketplace. So you should be able to get lots of traffic for that and use that as an acquisition tool for the business and a lead gen thing. But that's a whole nother SEO call that we could do. But you definitely want to look at like how Yelp is designed. Like it's the same way. So you have your homepage, then you have city pages, then you have categories of haulers inside, and then you have subcategories. So then there's, command. Is it the same URL?
The URL is actually haulercentral.com.
Good. Good.
Like that's, you're saying there's a plus to that. I mean, we did that for multiple reasons, but I'm curious why you're saying it's a plus. Yeah.
Well, I was actually even going to say I don't like the name Commander AI either. You know, when you're an early stage startup, you want to inject as many keywords in as possible into the name and the brand so that the conversion rates are high. You have hundreds of customers already, so you're doing something right. But Commander AI could be anything. It could be a Web3 crypto
blockchain
thing. Yeah, dude. And so like these again are old. I was very proud to see that you're not .ai. Like I literally fight with clients every week. I'm like, hey, one of the first things we do in the beginning is finalize the marketing foundation for a company. And if you're selling to non-tech people, you can't be fucking .ai or .io. If you're listening to this and you're selling to an equally old school industry as David, you cannot be .ai. You might be able to grow, but they'll be like, what is this? Like we're sitting here in San Francisco, you're in California too. We're ahead of the game with the rest of the country, definitely the rest of the world. So it's normal to us, but it's not normal to other people. With Hauler Central, I mean, you want keywords in there. Hauler is the keyword. So if people are searching for it, so it'll be haulercentral.com/city name. And so if someone searches for hauler in Columbus, Ohio, then that page will get good search engine ranking. And if they search for, a specific type of hauler in Columbus, Ohio, then there's that subcategory page. And that keyword dense URL is going to beat anything out there. And it can be dynamically created, all the different pages, the keyword densities based on city, based on type, subtype. And that's what Google loves more than anything. And that page, we actually call that's a marketing strategy. It's called engineering as marketing, and basically building something that we know can go way more viral and get way more traffic when done correctly, that can lead people in. But it's not going to necessarily create any brand awareness for the first company because it's a different brand name. So it'd have to have some automated email like, hey, a salesperson contacts them like, hey, looks like you signed up on our sister company. They need to know right away. Do you have that kind of automation?
Just I'd say at a small extent, not sort of across the board. Yeah.
Nice. But I love the Hauler Central thing. I mean, like, because of the legs that can have with Google.
Right.
But that was a whole nother topic, but that is exciting to me. I mean, it's not easy to come up with an idea that is built like Yelp, and that's what gets the number one search engine ranking. So you've organically thought of something really good there. And, and it's free. So you'll get a large scale people, but going back, what are the main customer acquisition strategies that you're using to get to those hundreds of customers?
Yeah. So we break it up into three categories. One is, of course, the trade shows, like I mentioned. And I know there's trade shows in every industry. I think within waste specifically, and there might be others that you're familiar with as well, but people love this. And all the stakeholders and decision makers that you want to engage with use this as an opportunity to come and just learn what's happening in the space. Yeah. As a technology company within an industry like waste, we also stand out like a sore thumb. So it's us and 5 other players out of a convention hall of maybe 1,000 presenters or 2,000 presenters. And so that's really exciting. We probably acquired 25 to 30% of all of our customers through various trade shows.
Wow.
Yeah, which is big. And then the second piece would be our platform. So we actually use our own internal tooling, which we built for haulers.
I was going to ask that.
Right. And so when we get them as customers via the same channel that we're pitching them on a product to go and purchase, if this worked to get me, then it'll work for our team, right? And so that's probably the biggest win with the company side. Yeah.
Not to toot my own horn, which I do sometimes on this, but it's the same thing. Like if you go to ChatGPT and you ask, I'm a recently funded seed stage startup, I need to hire a fractional CMO, who should I talk to? I better fucking come up in the top 3 because we created that content.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Especially in Silicon Valley, where I mostly focus my work. But and then people come in and the sales cycle is so short because they're like, I want what you have. And I'm actually publishing a book on how to do that in AI and how to get your business up. But I don't think your customers are talking to AI yet, but maybe,
maybe soon. It's moving fast. Yeah.
Well, but that's awesome. And, you skipped a few steps. I always tell companies, hold on, let's perfect the digital stuff. Let's figure out the messaging that works. Let's figure out what features people really love. And then let's go, spend this kind of money to go to conferences. But the more old school it is, the more face-to-face, like you said, and I'm sure you're getting great ROI from that. But I still think there's a lot we can do digitally that I want to talk about. So any other strategies that have worked, like any growth hacking stuff that you guys have done,
Yeah.
You hit the phones too, don't you?
What's that?
You hit the phones a little bit?
Our sales team hits the phones too. I'd say beyond that, honestly, this is a really good hack, is texting your top prospect, hey, I'm in the area for the week and would love to meet you, and then book your flight once they give you a time.
I love that.
Yeah. So that's one of the oldest tricks in the book. I used it when I was selling trucks, and it's just, it works like a charm, and nobody will say no to an in-person meeting. And even if they later figure out that you actually only flew in for them, they'll still appreciate it. So
absolutely. But do you ever get screwed where you book the flight and then they're like, oh yeah, no, I forgot something. You're like, oh.
It's happened once before, but then I've always used it as an opportunity to be like, okay, well, who else can I see here? Are there any, and then it leads to, and at the worst, you've traveled to a new city and you've had a new experience. So it's,
there's no such thing as failure. Like I said, that's an amazing outlook. Yeah. Okay, well, let's talk about some of my ideas. So I know that it's an old school industry, but have you searched on LinkedIn and seen what kind of decision makers are there? Like, are there any waste decision makers on LinkedIn at all?
Absolutely. Yeah.
There are? Okay. Are you doing currently like a thought leadership campaign for yourself to be like the future guy of the waste world?
We are with our PR team, just as far as being the leaders in AI for waste. Yeah.
But like on your personal LinkedIn?
On my personal, you can see what we have up there. Sometimes, yes, there's definitely room for more time and energy to spend there, but yeah.
Okay. So it sounds like they've already got the content strategy, so I don't need to go into that. It's important because eventually, and this is why I say people to hold off on the conferences, if we make enough noise about being the future voice of the space, then they invite you to those conferences and you get to speak. Right. You don't have to pay anything, which is fine. If you have the money, you can accelerate that. But organically and earning that stuff seems to be higher value opportunities than, even though you're only one of 5, that sounds like you could get that more. But so there's some other hacks on LinkedIn when you have a tiny old school industry that I've developed. So one of them is obviously having somebody like a junior marketer on the team, making sure they're following every hashtag on LinkedIn and being very active and commenting, liking, resharing all the content that's talking. That's like a 10-minute a day.
Sure.
But it really does help expose the company to the right people.
Right.
That's not super wildly valuable. The coolest thing I think I can share for LinkedIn is you can target by company name. I don't think I've said this yet on the podcast, but and you mentioned those top prospects that you might call. Before you even call them, you can run targeted ads to just those companies and even just the roles inside those companies. So fucking cheap. So cheap. Like literally a couple $100. Because let's say there's, I don't know, how many potential customers are there for you in the United States and Canada?
30 to 35,000.
Okay, that's a lot.
Oh, you thought it was smaller? Yeah, most people.
You cut that to the top 10%. There's 3,000 companies. There's 3 people per company. It's a 10,000 person total audience on LinkedIn, and you can make that segment because you can. You'd have to have somebody. I think you can upload a CSV of all the company names, and it'll find them. They're not all on LinkedIn, also, by the way. So then let's just say 500 companies that you're like, oh, I really want these companies before we cold call them to think we're really big.
Sure.
And you can create a bunch of content and target those people with ads. And then you see the companies that are engaging with the ad. They don't have to click a lead form. They go to the website. You could pixel it and retarget them. But even without that, sales team can see these are the companies that have engaged with our ad over the last 30 days. Fucking cold call these people and tell them that we're going to be there. They have, beauty is with no tech experience, they don't know what the fuck retargeting is or remarketing. It's synonymous, essentially being able to hit people. I mean, even the segmenting of the ads, but they think you're advertising to everyone. Sure. Oh my God, we're going to be last in the industry to find out about this if we don't get on board. And I find that outreach, whether on LinkedIn, on email, or cold call, whatever it is, works really well after spending a little bit on those ads in a tiny old school industry. I talk a lot about, what was a client? I had a client in the telecom space, only 1,500 total customers out there. They sell to like the Verizons of the world. Yep. And that was my first foray into working B2B with you don't understand this industry, Andrew. We can't be blogging and be overly salesy, And so that LinkedIn thing really, really worked in that. So the older, the tinier the industry, the more closed off it is, the more you want to advertise to just those people. You can't do a freaking meta campaign that shows to every grandma. You want to just show to the right companies, and that helps the sales team be really effective. You might not get leads from that campaign. They'll just see it and see the name and see. You also can share. You have hundreds of customers, so I'm sure you're getting some crazy case studies. Right. Ads are really good for showing those case studies to people. It's like LinkedIn has a document ad campaign now, to where the conversion is they download the case study, and then you get the metrics on who it is and follow up. But even in the image, like a carousel, you can show the statistics. This company grew their business this much with Commander. They saved this many hours. And then when you call, they're like, yeah, actually, I've been meaning to get in touch with you guys. So I think that's my first hack. But my favorite idea, I was coming to this meeting, is about hacking Google Maps. A lot of these businesses are like geolocated, right? Like they're haulers in blank city, haulers in blank place, and they have physical locations, right? They have offices and warehouses or whatever, parking garages, whatever it is. So I'm assuming it's a no, but have you ever thought about scraping Google Maps for all of that data of all of those locations and emails and websites?
With what intent?
With the intent to reach out to all these haulers via many different modes. So Google Maps, you're an AI company, you can build a OpenClaw or whatever, but you can build an AI agent that literally just goes on, and scrapes Google Map. I want all the 30,000 total haulers in the United States and Canada. And then you get their website, their general email address, their phone number, and their physical location out of Google Maps. And on the physical location, there's direct mail campaigns. Posty, Posty, I think, or IE, is a company where you can upload that list of addresses, make a seemingly handwritten note, and send a mailer out to all 30,000 for like, I don't know, maybe that would be too much money. But you can start with 3,000 and see if it works. Yeah, I think it's like $2 to $5 per, depending on the scale. Right. But so like, I would do 1,000 and spend $5K on that to see if 1,000, I mean, like if 50% get back, it 5X's your client base. I mean, not get back, but move forward. So you don't really need, but the more old school, the more we try this kind of seemingly outdated things, but hitting people multi-channel cannot be understated, especially doing it like a month before you have someone on the phone, or you're like, hey, let's go and see these people. You can also use the signal of, on LinkedIn, okay, these are the companies that are looking at it. Those are the companies we're going to call. And the same thing with the direct mail. A lot of times what people do is they'll have a unique URL. So commanderai.com/mail, and it gets them some kind of discount, like 6 months free, 3 months, get your first month. I mean, they might not care about that. Maybe it's get a dedicated account manager for free for 12 months or something that's going to, or all your, we give you an onboarding specialist or something so that you don't have to learn the platform yourself, or whatever it is. That's a whole nother thing that's worth talking about. So you're kind of like HubSpot, but for these haulers, plus with a bunch of AI stuff. And the number one problem when you're selling these kind of platforms, I don't know if you've seen, is people worry that they're going to have to learn all this new shit. Do you have like a knowledge base? Like, what's your answer to that? Actually?
Yeah. So the first thing is that our platform is extremely simplistic, and customers see that when they first onboard, even initially, compared to HubSpot, Salesforce. There's like 6 modules. They're self-explanatory. We don't use tech lingo like ICP. We just eliminate all of that. And so it's, so it's the same way that they're selling today, just digitally. And we do offer, we have an onboarding manual, we have an onboarding team. So we handhold them and white glove all the way until they're comfortable. But
nice.
our biggest selling point is it takes 2 days to onboard with Commander versus any other CRM that's out there.
Yeah. I was at a conference in Vegas recently, and I met a whole startup that just does onboarding for HubSpot. Like they have a Chrome extension. They're called Supered, by the way, supered.io. I just couldn't believe, $8 a month per seat. And they get like these sales orgs, like, cause HubSpot's so hard to learn that you need a Chrome extension that isn't owned by HubSpot to teach you how to use it. So don't be like HubSpot. The simpler you make it, the easier it is. I would say definitely investing in a knowledge base is a really good, and like, you just get someone that isn't a dude with a beard that, like probably a female always does better. And, sorry for anybody that thinks that's sexist, but I've run tens of millions of dollars in paid user acquisition, and male, female, any non-binary, everyone clicks on female stuff more, just the way it is.
Right.
And those videos are great because you can also have all those on YouTube, and then YouTube, it comes up in search for everything. It helps build a lot of links. And so can't understate, especially if you're getting the questions regularly. Anytime a question comes from more than two customers, you want to make a video about that. So then it's really easy for them to self-service, because it's cool to do things that don't scale in the early stage. Like you mentioned about literally hand-holding them the whole way. Right. But like when you're 1,000 customers and you're onboarding, hundreds, to get to 30,000, you can't do all that with them. So they're going to have to be like, here's the knowledge base, watch these videos. But going back to the Google Map, the GMB, Google Maps and Google My Business stuff, you can scrape that. We talked about direct mail, even cooler than that. And there's services out there, which I won't name, that, it's a little bit gray hat, but there are ways to build, and now Claudebot or OpenClaw can do this on your own, because I've seen the same use case now through that. But we used to have to build this on our own. You can make an AI tool that once you have that list, and it will go on their own website and fill out the form on their website and send them a message that gets 100% deliverability. It goes to the company because it's through their own website. Mm-hmm. I mean, people do that to GrowthExpertz, and even for this podcast, I get messages that are clearly just cans, but because it doesn't have any chance of you going to spam and it's going to the right people, you can do 30,000 of those in your sleep. The AI can just send those messages all day, every day, 100% deliverability. And so that's the second strategy from Google My Business. Obviously, the phone calling thing, there's AI phone callers. I haven't seen much about it in like the last 2 or 3 months, but 6 to 12 months ago, that was the hot shit. And I'm sure there's a good one out there. I mean, I'm seeing voice AI tech be almost indistinguishable now. And at least the client that I'm working with is, but AI calling. And then, when someone expresses any interest, they go into a follow-up thing that a human follows up with them or something. But again, you can't cold call 30,000 people. Even the sales team just can't. Maybe they can do 50 calls a day max. So so the AI can at least touch the tip of the eye, scratch the first touch there. So that's phone. Obviously, the email campaign, you can use your own tool for that, right? You can upload the list of all of those emails that you scrape, and but the idea is hitting people at first in all 5 of those ways. You figure out what works, and then you scale that up. And so I don't know if those are some good ideas there.
I like the in-mail sort of approach where it's deliverable mail to the locations, because they all appreciate that, and that's a crafty way to do it. So that's
again, with old school, you got to try everything. And I think that you can increase the conversion rate of the calling idea that you had if they don't know that you're using data to drive that. But it could be, okay, these companies saw our flyer that came in because they visited. You can see, by the way, if the piece of mail they get has a unique URL in your Google Analytics, you can see what cities, and then what companies are in those cities, and it's more likely. So there's dots that can be connected with like time. You can connect Post Hog or Google Analytics MCP, and then you can have AI tell you, hey, by the way, this week, all these companies interacted with our ad on LinkedIn and the mailer that we sent. So this is the call list of companies, and the calls are going to be 25 times better than just a cold call, because they're like, oh shit, yeah, I've seen you guys. Yeah, we're all over the place. We're actually the leading company that's helping the space, anyway. So the more niche the industry, the more you want to like speak in the, you said your PR company is doing, getting you speak, interview opportunities. What are you doing? Oh, that's another good idea. What are you doing post interview with that content?
Yeah, I mean, it's going all throughout social, sometimes at our website. Those are the main things, right? So LinkedIn, Instagram, our website, and then leveraging that to get into other publications like TechCrunch did an article on us, and then all the industry ones did as well.
Nice.
So using it as a vehicle to get to the next one.
Perfect. I would definitely promote that stuff on LinkedIn, like not a boost, like that's when, making that ad, so you can do retargeting in LinkedIn as well. So the first touch is just, hey, we do this. If you're interested, click the link or whatever. And it's, you're going to get, even in an old school industry, at least 10% of people in the space are like, oh shit, we know we have to do something. And your messaging should be like, this is the only way to win in the future. No matter, like there's two types of people in the hauling industry, happy that it's old school, or people that want to grow their business. And if you want to grow your business, you need to it needs to be something like that in the first touch. And then the second touch, it's, the news stuff that we've been in, that the media that they trust, like, oh shit, this isn't a little startup. They're actually making waves. So you definitely want to get, because it switches from an ask to an offer, right? It's like, hey, there's this interesting thing that you should know about. And they don't nobody looks at who's running the ad. They just see, oh shit, TechCrunch is not who you want to promote the article from. But same thing when you're raising that A round later, you can do the same thing. You could take the TechCrunch article and just upload a list of VCs, or you can write out every name of venture capital companies and you can show that TechCrunch article, and then you can retarget people that click on the article with a video of you talking about the metrics that you've hit. Literally, right. That's all they care about. So we do the same thing. Like here in San Francisco, I don't know if I should even give this away, but when I'm working with a company that's going to raise an A round, we will do a targeted Google display campaign and LinkedIn campaign. But you can just upload a list of all the emails and the people that you can create an audience of people who've recently visited your website. So you send an email out, maybe some of them click, and then after they click, they see your ads everywhere, they get retargeted, and then they come inbound. It's almost it's digitally creating that intro thing. Like somebody introduced me, like, fuck, I see you guys everywhere. My team needs to do some DD on this. Can we get a meeting? It's not you pushing them anymore. It's just they see it. I mean, people are pretty smart and technical here, so they figure it out, but still they don't. They think that you're just really crushing it, which you are. So I think on the PR side, we talked about it. I think that's any questions from any of that?
No, it's super helpful.
Yeah. Are you doing most of that stuff already, or was there some gold in there?
A lot of it, yes. But again, I like the in-person idea, and I like also the LinkedIn on certain promotions that we're not doing, whether it's our SDRs or marketing team. So yeah.
Nice. When's the next conference that you have to go to?
We're going to one in a month and a half, REMA Expo in Vegas, April 13th.
Nice. That's good. Are you sponsoring it, or you just have a booth?
We have a booth, and then I got a speaking arrangement there too from our PR. So that's
nice.
Yeah.
How many attendees do you expect at that event?
Probably 15 to 20,000.
Oh, nice. Oh shit. Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's spend 5 minutes, just go through the protocol for these conferences. There's obviously a trickle down marketing thing, but if it's 20,000 people, what I recommend for Vegas is doing some kind of dinner thing, or, like spend a couple grand. You don't even need to tell the restaurant. It's only like 8 to 10 people, but like the absolute prospects that you really want to meet with, you use that dinner as a thing to invite them to. And it's, it's not even going to cost you, I don't know, a couple grand. But that way it becomes less, oh, come by our booth. We're here. We're one of only 5 tech companies at the space. Please come see us. It's like, no, come to this dinner, free dinner. That Supered company, I was so interested in what they did. They did at the conference I was at, they did Top Golf. It's really close to the Strip, by the way. Yep. They rented out a bay and Top Golf. Couldn't even be a couple grand. And they got like 30 prospects to come to that. So doing that kind of stuff in Vegas specifically is really good, but even more so when it's a really huge conference. So, there's 10 people. If we could even get half of them to come and have dinner with us, the whole conference will be wildly successful. So I think that external little event is really valuable. So as far as marketing ideas, like if you're speaking, you should put out a press release about you speaking at that conference. Your PR company should do that. I mean, just to that niche media list again. I mean, the more you hit those media contacts, like with things you're doing, I would also, since you have 100 customers, I would get some kind of benchmark. We've now helped companies save blank hours on marketing, or we've, there's some kind of metric there. You have some kind of unique data.
We've generated 34.2 million in revenue.
I saw that on the site. So yeah. Maybe not the 4.2, just, you didn't hear this from me, but round up to 40, or 30 plus, like we said.
Yeah, it sounds
whatever.
better.
By the time the press release gets out, it'll be another 5 million, yada, yada, whatever. But so no, like that is a great story in and of itself, but it's like 40 million out of what, right. I think it's something about how like the average customer saving this much or something like that. I have a client, the AI voice client I was talking about, they're like $20K a year for their product, and the average customer's making an extra $150K a year. So we're going to the travel media with that. And this week got 2 interviews with the biggest travel publications in the space without having an external PR agency, just us as a small marketing team. And that's because it's actually really crazy what you're able to produce for these old school clients. So you want to do that. I always tell companies when you're speaking at a conference and you're telling customers that might actually be at that conference, you do want to do a hello bar. You know what a hello bar is? That little drop down. I think it says, you have one, it says something on your website. You switch that to the conference, and then even put like a link, signature line that you're going to be at the conference.
Sure.
Are you doing outreach, asking people if they're going to be at the conference?
We are. We have a list of those that are attending, and then a lot of our customers and prospects will be there too. So nice. Campaigns and marketing emails.
So I would do the same thing we were just talking about on LinkedIn. I would do that for that list too. Like maybe not all 20,000. I mean, if 20,000 is so much that probably you could just do anybody by industry. If you're in waste management and you're senior decision maker in these areas in the company, and I would do like what you could do, like literally record what your talk is going to be about, or some kind of come and meet with us, or make sure you come and see my talk. Like these conferences cost so much, and then we don't realize you need to spend even 10% of that on marketing that you're going to be there.
And then
it's going to be 2 or 3 times more powerful for you. So we just spend all the money to go there. Oh, we've got good pens to hand out and swag stuff or whatever. Another thing is people don't realize you got to have a fucking QR code there, because how many team members are going with you?
Probably 5 or 6 to the next one. It's a bigger show. Yeah.
That's pretty good. 5 or 6 is pretty good, but hopefully they're all busy and then people will go by. But I'm sure you already thought of that. So that's enough to dump on you for one call, but super interesting what you're doing. And I think I know one guy back home in Ohio where I'm from that has like 5 trucks. I'll have to.
Oh, you're from Ohio? I worked in Ohio for 5 years, New Philadelphia.
I've never even heard of New Philadelphia. Yep. We just have names going out the ass in Ohio. There's an Africa. There's an Africa, Ohio, near where I grew up. There's a Lebanon, Ohio. They just, it's just like people immigrated there from somewhere else like 200 years ago. We're like, this is Africa, Ohio. Yeah, right. I don't know. But I'm from a small town in Ohio. I left America when I was 22. It's a whole nother long story for another podcast. I just came back recently though. But awesome, man. Well, David Berg, wishing you nothing but success. Thank you so much for coming on the show, man.
Likewise. Thank you.
That has been another episode of the Funded Now What podcast with your host, Andrew Lee Miller, brought to you by GrowthExpertz. If you liked this episode, please subscribe. And if you really liked it, please share with other founders and entrepreneurs. Thanks. And we'll see you in the next episode.